My dad called me on Christmas and said, "I forgive you for what you said at the hospital." I wasn't at any hospital. I sat in my Seattle apartment watching snow fall outside my window, coffee getting cold on the table beside me. The Christmas tree lights blinked red and green while I tried to understand what my father was talking about. "Dad, what hospital? What are you talking about? Don't play games with me, Waverly." His voice was tired, wounded in a way I'd never heard before. "I know you were upset about how I handled things after your mother passed, but saying you wished I'd died in that accident was cruel, even for you at your worst." My blood went cold, actually cold, like ice water had been injected directly into my veins. "Dad, I haven't seen you since Thanksgiving. I've been in Seattle for work for 3 weeks straight. What accident? What hospital? Are you okay?" There was a long pause on the other end. I could hear him breathing, processing, trying to reconcile what I was saying with whatever memory he was holding on to. "You visited me 3 days ago. You sat by my hospital bed for 2 hours. You held my hand and told me exactly how you felt about me as a father." I didn't. My voice was shaking now, my hands trembling so badly I almost dropped the phone. "I swear to you on Mom's grave, I've been on the West Coast since December 3rd. I have plane tickets, hotel receipts, work emails with timestamps. It wasn't me. What happened to you? Why were you in the hospital?" He went quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "Then who was in my hospital room, Waverly? Who sat there holding my hand and telling me she wished I was dead?" I booked a flight that night, the last available seat on a red-eye that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I didn't sleep the entire flight, just sat there staring out the window at the darkness, trying to figure out who would impersonate me and why. When I landed, I drove straight to my dad's house without stopping. He looked older than I remembered, with a bandage still wrapped around his head from whatever accident had put him there. His eyes were red-rimmed like he hadn't slept either. When he opened the door and saw me, he just stared for a long moment before pulling me into a hug so tight it hurt. "You look different than you did at the hospital," he said quietly when he finally let go. "Because it wasn't me, Dad. I need you to believe that." He nodded slowly and pulled out his phone. "The hospital gave me security footage after I filed a complaint about the things you said, except it wasn't you." The footage was grainy but clear enough to make my stomach turn. A woman with my exact hair color, my exact build, my exact walk approached my dad's room. She was wearing my red pea coat, the one I'd lost 3 months ago when I visited him for his birthday. I'd assumed I left it at a restaurant. She walked into his room, sat down beside his bed, and stayed for 2 hours. "She knew things," my dad said quietly, his hands shaking. "She knew about your mother's death. She knew about the fight we had when you were 16, the exact words we said. She talked about memories only you would have." I felt physically sick. "What exactly did she say to you?" His face crumpled like paper being crushed. "That I was a terrible father. That when I crashed my car, her first thought was hoping I wouldn't survive. That she'd spent her whole life resenting me." Tears rolled down his weathered cheeks. "This man who raised me alone after Mom died, who worked 3 jobs so I could go to college debt-free, who called every Sunday for 15 years. Someone destroyed him using my face." I went to the police. They tracked the woman to a car registered to Paulette Vance, my mother's sister, an aunt I never knew existed. When police questioned her, everything came out. She'd been estranged from my mother before I was born. When Mom died, Paulette blamed my father. She'd been watching our family for years, waiting. The red coat, stolen from my car months ago. She wanted my father to die believing his daughter hated him. My dad testified at her trial. He described spending 3 days believing I wanted him dead. He said those were the worst days of his entire life. I moved home after that. Dad needed to see my real face every day until he could trust it was really me. It took almost a year before he stopped flinching when I walked into rooms. But we got there. We got there together.